Welcome to this special extended-length Webisode 6 of our 12-show series for the TTS SF project car build-up for Fortitude.com. In our last webisode, we met up with the guys of Streetwork to get APR to Stage 1, and additionally, we overcame the challenges and logistics with Audi's magnetic ride system so that we could throw on a set of KW Variant 3 coilovers and really get the handling and stance hooked up properly for this car. The time frame for this webisode stretched a 2-month period and 4,800 round-trip miles, so I decided to put together a special extended-length webisode and share this trip from California to the far eastern edge of the great state of Alabama. In the early spring of 2010, I was checking into the APR website as I sometimes do to see if there was anything new in the works for the TTS. It must have been the exact same day that they published a new page on the site that spoke of development for the Stage 3 setup for the TTS. It went on to mention that a kit was being designed and that more information was forthcoming. On a whim, I decided to send an email to the guys over at APR and find out if they already had a willing R&D partner for the development process. To make a long story short, APR was looking to work with the TTS owner, so on March 1st, 2010, I jumped in the car and headed eastward. The first day of the trip had me drive a bit faster than the posted speed limits to get me from San Francisco to Albuquerque by 11:30 p.m. on the same day. After catching 5 hours of sleep, I was up again at around 4:30 for the longest driving day of my life. I covered 6 states in 23 hours straight: New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. The one stop that I made for an hour or so was in Shreveport to meet up with Never OEM, a longtime forum member with a 3.2 Mark II TT that had an amazing sounding Meisterschaft exhaust. Another 4 hours of windshield time got me out to Keith from APR's house in Alabama. The APR squad invited me to fly out with them to Miami and see and film the Homestead 200 Grand Am race with the APR Motorsports team. The twin GTIs put down some awesome runs, and the new S4 is an utter beast that's amazingly engineered and will be a real threat to all of the competition in this race series. The APR Motorsports crew is a very cool collective of personalities and runs like clockwork. You can clearly see why their personalities are magnetic, as they are considered one of the favorite teams in the Grand Am series. While down there, I got to hang out with the guys from German Motoring, who brought this insane Jetta and a few other Audis as well. The APR Columbia crew came up for the race. Their main man Daniel and I had a couple of high-speed runs on the parade lap after the race in his modded Mark V R32. Back in Alabama, after only half a day, APR Tuning's main mechanic Charlie had completely dismantled the engine in preparation for some test fitments for the components that make up this kit.
Make that look easy, don't it?
The plan is to swap out the KO4 turbo for a GT2871. The other major components going into this swap out will be the manifold, high flow injectors, air intake piping, coolant lines, spark plugs, and a host of other small bits needed to pull it all together. I also opted to get the front-mounted intercooler and the divorced downpipe with mid-pipe. The question really wasn't whether these components would bolt up. The engineers at APR were fairly sure that things would go smoothly. The real question was, how would the TTS ECU respond to the S3 ECU upgrades for these new Stage 3 power levels? Upon arrival for the first time, all I can say is that the APR headquarters totally exceeded my expectations. It's a very impressive operation that houses both APR Tuning and APR Motorsports under one 36,000 square foot roof. The whole place is just as cutting edge as you can imagine, and they've become a huge driving force in the Volkswagen Audi tuning scene without having to set up shop in California. While staying in OPELIKA, I discovered an independent coffee shop in downtown called Red Door June. I'd walk there every day and pass by this old abandoned factory with a loading dock drop-off that appeared to be about the same height as the TTS. Since that factory was abandoned, I pulled the TTS up to it, and although it was a wee bit insane to do at 9 a.m. with no warm-up, I pulled out my board and I got down to business. The first leg of the trip back home had me running from Opelika, Alabama to Biloxi, Mississippi through torrential rains. That night I stayed at the Beau Rivage Casino and was up at the crack of dawn to shoot over to New Orleans. It was a good opportunity to see how the Stage 3 could do. I was glad to discover that it is monumentally more powerful than the OEM TTS engine. New Orleans is one of the nation's finest cities, hands down. The vibe, the people, the architecture. So after picking up my wife at the airport to join me for the rest of the drive home, we headed towards Bourbon Street. Cruising through the French Quarter in a Stage 3 TTS is the type of experience I may never have again. Listening to the sound of the now noticeably more audible DSG cracking as it popped through the gears, mixed with the sound of trumpeting jazz musicians and people having a grand time, might end up being a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and it was very memorable. The new divorced downpipe really allows the car's personality to come out, as it's slightly easier to hear the GT2871 spooling, and the diverter valve is clearly heard. Nothing too over the top. It's really pretty subtle, but the new sound when you stamp on it is pretty rewarding. After running through Austin, Texas, and then on to Albuquerque, New Mexico using the Southern I-10 route, it becomes pretty apparent why people with tuned cars in these areas should be running a proper front-mounted intercooler. Big horsepower engines suffer from heat soak. Whether it's because you live in these areas, or you run your car hard on track days, or you just run it through the mountains relentlessly on the twisties, in order to keep the engine temps in check and net yourself reliable, consistent horsepower, a front-mounted intercooler really is a must. The APR piece has cast aluminum end tanks that are built by hand to their exacting standards. The plan for this car was never to be a trailer clean. It's a daily driven car that's driven hard, so taking measures like this will ensure that when I do get on the go pedal, I'll get what I want out of this brilliant engine. Our next stop was in the Oak Creek Valley of Arizona, home of Sedona. If you've never been there, the grandeur of the orangish-red spires and the rock formations is otherworldly, and provides quite a backdrop for the sprint blue color of the TTS. The area is known for its spiritual, metaphysical energy, and as you'd expect, attracts that type of new age enlightened person that would go along with that outlook on life. After a day of that, I was ready to get out of town and hit some high-speed lines on the great stretches of tarmac that surround the area. After Sedona, we hightailed it to Vegas and stayed at the new Aria Hotel that opened in early spring. Luckily, the fellow at the front desk understood my need to keep a good eye on the car and hooked us up with a nice upgraded room which looked down perfectly on the TTS. This place was something else. From the moment you drive through the valet turnabout at the main entrance to the fully automated rooms, this was not a bad place to call home for the night. The next morning saw us up pretty early to stomp on it and get back to SF. As odd as it may seem, the first time people really tried to have a go against the TTS was in California, so I was happy to be a gentleman and oblige.
Well, that'll definitely do.
We had some fun with a few Corvettes, a Lotus, a modded Mustang GT, and even an RS4. There was literally no competition. This APR Stage 3 on a 265 horsepower 2.0 T is an out-and-out beast. This car is 3,200 pounds, it's all-wheel drive, and due to the magic that APR performed is seeing 400 horsepower on pump gas. Tune into the next webisode airing here on Fortitude in 2 weeks, where we go on the road again, this time heading down to San Diego to visit the HRE Wheel Factory and finally get the TTS laced up with a new set of shoes.